So I want to take a second before we start this week's video and talk about the idea of letting value flow to the customer. I've said that a few times. I want to explain it, make sure everybody understands what I mean. So as we get better and better at lean and we're able to improve our processes, make things safer, simpler, and faster, that lessens the resources it takes for us to serve the customer. We don't have as many defects that we create that we have to then over process, meaning go back and fix. We don't have all this rework, and we're able to just get it right the first time and move on. How does that let value flow to the customer? It does in a few ways. It lets us have bandwidth to maybe think about selling them another product category. It lets us have bandwidth to address specific needs that are maybe outside of the norm, so special requests, that type of thing, that make a customer feel really, really heard, gives us the ability to do that. And it also lessens the resources it takes for us to serve in general. And so we're able to offer our products and services at a competitive rate and maybe even below some of our competition because our processes are good. That's letting value flow to the customer, being able to offer a ton of value at a very reasonable price. And as we do that, that creates a very long-term healthy business. So that's the journey we're on. Come with me. So speaking of letting value flow to the customer, let's start at Beasley at the sales counter. This is Jeff and Duke. These guys are doing an awesome job at the counter, and they wanted to serve the customer better when they had small pickups and have a spot in the sales counter area to store those so we didn't have to go out in the warehouse and scan them out of their spot in the warehouse and find them, that type of thing. Not a lot of transportation waste, so they created this temporary tag where they could scan it into the actual sales counter office right there so the customer gets what he needs immediately. Great job, guys. Corey in production showing off one of Refugio's improvements. So the shelf behind him wasn't really being used, and we take the drops from casing to create the handles on a lot of the doors, especially the interiors. But we didn't have a dedicated spot for those drops, and so utilizing this shelf right here, easy for everybody to have access to it, knows where it is. We got a standard now. Great improvement, Refugio. Tez and Devontae with another incredible delivery. And I know we've talked about it before, but the cardboard corners behind the doors. You could say, yeah, the painters are going to come back and touch that up anyway. It's not a big deal if it scratches the wall. But again, the idea of letting value flow to the customers, what if they didn't have to touch up as much? Or there wasn't a dent in the wall that they had to plaster and then sand. It just, that's letting value flow to the customer, taking load or waste from somebody else's process because we do ours really, really well. Incredible job, guys. And look at this stacking. These guys are incredible. It looks like this every single time. Such a high standard. Well done. The phrase work smarter, not harder comes to mind. And I feel like some of us didn't learn that very well. The phrase we learned growing up was work harder or work harder. But we want to make things easy, right? So this is an awesome improvement when you get down to little picture windows and stuff like that on a window truck, grabbing these carts and rolling them to the back instead of all of this transportation waste back and forth with tons of trips. You just load them up on these little carts and roll them out. Not as much strain on your body, way less transportation waste. Awesome improvement, Windows receiving. I love these. So Paul and Ty on service and install got their Warrior certification. So awesome. We want to create experts. We want to be experts in what we do, and the Warrior certifications go to that. These are not easy to get. Take a lot of discipline and dedication. Well done, guys. Logan in design with an awesome improvement. So I've been guilty of being the post-it note Nazi as well. And Logan's mobile, he works from the office sometimes and sometimes the house. So he took those quick references that he had, put them on a sheet of paper. I really love this. We want to put the answer where the question is, and I like that it's physical and you don't have to click to a screen to find it. You can actually have that physical sheet right on your desk. Quick reference when you have a question so that there's no waste. You immediately have the answer and move on. Great improvement, Logan. So on stick jobs, Ethan found himself slowed down, a break in his flow by having to double check opening sizes, bouncing back and forth between pages and programs to make sure that opening sizes were correct. But on stick jobs, everything's going to be cut in the field. So he was able to just standardize to common opening sizes where he could just grab and go and not tediously jump back and forth for all of these little tiny changes. doesn't affect anything in the field, and creates flow inside his job, saving him minutes per job. Awesome improvement, Ethan. Another great standardization improvement from Ethan. So he standardized deflection criteria for both floor members and beams so that the program would only flag things that don't meet the standard. So instead of having to review every single member, it just flags the things that aren't to standard, and he can go problem solve from there. Again, creating flow in his process and saving minutes. Great job, Ethan. Win for the Tiger team right here. So this is the truss plant, the outfeed at tables 5 and 6. We built these overhangs to cover the infeed for the desaw, the outfeed for the finish press at table 5 and 6. And he noticed that the team is having to deal with tons of rain pouring off those shed roofs when they're working right there. Nobody should have to do that. Added gutters to fix the problem. Fix what bugs you. Thank you, Tiger team. Leroy noticed we needed a standard for where pencils, markers, and tape measures go when you're working on top of a roof table. And so he decided to build these little boxes so that they could ride on top of the gantry. This works awesome. Love this standard. Way to go, Leroy. Stephen Rock continues to get material in the right spot to limit transportation waste. Couple examples of that here. Stephen, maybe grab me a video of the before and after of you just riding in your lift from where these items used to be to where you take them and stock them into the plant versus where they are now. I can run those sped up so people can just see the difference. That'd be good to add to next week's video, but you're killing it, eliminating tons of transportation waste so value can flow to the customer. Great job, man. So here's the truth about lean improvements that maybe doesn't get talked about enough. Not all of the ideas really work. That's why we say run the experiment. You know, any good idea should stand up to scrutiny, and if it doesn't, we can try something else or we can go back to the way we did it before. But we want to try things because that's how we get better. That's how we figure out what will work. Hey, that didn't work. That idea didn't work exactly the way I thought, but this piece of it did. So I'm going to keep that piece. I'm going to tweak this piece, and away you go. You iterate, and that's how you learn and get better. So this is an idea that improvement that didn't really work in the plant. So this is a plate cart that was built to put at the tables in case something didn't get pulled right or a plate got damaged in the process of building the truss. But that doesn't happen that often. This big bulky cart was taking up space, and it looks good, and it was labeled what everything was, but it didn't really add any value. So Albert saw fit to remove that to create more room for cart space. We're getting everything picked accurately, so not as much need for that cart. Some stuff can still get damaged in the process of fabrication, but just a handful of plates addresses that issue, and not this giant cart. Way to pick out something that wasn't working really well and go do something about it. Albert, great improvement. So 3S is sweep, sort, standardize, and a great standardization improvement from Davis. So this is the front end of the live deck for the robos, for the linear saws, and Davis noticed that we didn't have a standard for where paperwork goes for the forklift drivers when they need to pick special material for the robos. So they created a standard by just putting that paper holder right there. It's right in the path of the driver, so no transportation waste. Super simple, great improvement. So JC, I wonder how this one is working for you. So you were running this experiment. I purposely use voice messages to speed me up a whole lot faster than me typing stuff out. I can communicate more frequently and easier that way. And you're experimenting with voice text on your PC. So just speaking the email out and shooting it off. So I wonder how that's working for you. I love that you ran this experiment. It's definitely lean thinking. I wonder if it's working. So one of the things that the Japanese figured out that's a foundation of lean is the idea of just in time. Basically, we don't want to be over or under producing in any process. So in trusses, we want the forklift drivers to be picking the same amount that the saw is cutting, that then the tables are going to produce, and all of that stuff be in sync. And we weren't measuring what pickers were pulling. We were measuring what saws are cutting, what tables are building, but not what pickers are pulling. We added that to our daily sheet so we can watch that. Awesome job in thinking just in time. Great improvement, guys. Incredible before and after right here from Francisco Sr. So when marking landings in stairs, this is the way we used to do it. A straight edge with a pencil. Look how much struggle that is. Look at the opportunity for defects and then have to over process or redo it. And we just grab a chalk line, pop it. Super simple, so easy, no room for defect. Incredible job. So we've got these carts where we collect drops, material that comes off a saw that can be repurposed into a smaller member. This is for 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, and 2x12. It didn't have wheels on it. Now it has wheels on it. I love that. You can get it right where you need it. No wasted motion or transportation. Great job, Davis. Great safety improvement from Albert and the team on night shift. This is table 1. Soon you won't have to do this at all with an improvement that we got in process, but right now the guy on the top of the table has to jump off the table and back up. We had stairs in one area, but not on that far side. Built another set of stairs, way less opportunity for an injury or struggle. Jumping back to design, Willer with a huge Stream Deck win. So that button on the Stream Deck takes a process that took him 30 or more clicks down to one click of that button. Man, lean is the art of subtraction. I love the use of the Stream Deck. Lean works in the office just like it does anywhere else. Awesome job, Willer. Trevor jumping in on the Franklin yard, so he didn't have a bracket to hang his clipboard that he needed to hang on his lift. No big deal. Grab some zip ties. Use your head, not your wallet. Awesome job, Trevor. The operations team across all 3 yards, from pickers to drivers, do an incredible job on providing value to the customer, and we want framers and everybody to know where that value came from. Love that we stencil our name on these bundles. Looks awesome, guys. We have an amazingly selfless team across Huskey that's always looking for ways to help each other. So this is an invention from the design team at Franklin. They often walk the 424 yard, and they noticed that we didn't have an easy standard for collecting these crossouts or sticks, runners, whatever you call them. But we need an easy standard to collect those, because if we don't and they go in the dumpster, we end up having to buy those, and that's waste that we shouldn't have. But we didn't have an easy standard, so they just created these little bins that they can easily transport all around the yard where it's needed, to make it easy to collect these off of the inbound bundles so that we can reuse them on our outbound product. Thank you, design team. This is awesome. It's easy. Way to make it happen. Travis Gibson rounding us out at Beasley. This is an exterior door cart that we use to pick slabs to go to production. And the team noticed that sometimes on this cart, they didn't have enough of those divider arms at the top for the amount of slabs that needed to go on that cart. So you'd have to grab multiple carts, and that creates waste and transportation, both for pickers and for production, and just extra struggle. Lean is the art of subtraction. We shouldn't have to deal with multiple carts if we don't have to. He found some extra of those dividers, unbolted the top of that, slid on the amount that he needed, put it back together, problem solved. Awesome job, Travis. And that rounds out week 2. And man, you guys are on fire. At this rate, I can't imagine where we're going to be by the end of 2026. Truly makes me excited. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great week.